Good morning and welcome to our magical garden. I'm Connie, I'm here with my husband Mark, and we're going to do kind of a belated July tour of the garden because Mark has been so busy with a project in the back garden that we'll show you later. So one of the things we absolutely love that we've done in this front garden are the daylilies that we planted last September, and they look amazing. And these roses are doing a second flush of blooms. They do bloom most of the summer.
And I've got to say, probably also Connie's pots. I think she did a fabulous job with the annuals in the pots this year.
They've grown, some of them have grown a little bit crazy. I planted some new things this year that I didn't know what they would do. So every year is an experiment, and it's the most fun part of planting for me. Oh, and as Mark is looking at the coneflowers, look at the bees on the Nepeta Montrose White. I know I'm constantly talking about this plant, but it stays in its place, it gets quite tall, it lasts until September or October. It's an absolutely beautiful plant. One of my favorite perennials, and it's become so popular now in garden centers. We moved the caladium pots to the side door and they're looking wonderful right now. So this pot we've had in this place for at least 10 to 15 years, and we always plant the same thing in it because it looks amazing when people walk by. The colocasia is called California, and the coleus is called Wicked Witch. And I just love the ruffled edges of it, and the contrast with that wonderful elephant ear is spectacular. We've seen people stop to look at it, and many people want a cutting of that coleus, so I'm going to pot up a few little plant cuttings for them. I had no idea that the salvia, this particular salvia, would grow so tall and big. It's really bullying my supertunias and the coral, I think it's called coral sedum. I have to do something with it, but I'm a little bit afraid because of the bees. The bumblebees absolutely love this plant, but I will eventually cut it back a little bit and maybe put in some autumn plants in these containers. I also had put some penstemons in. You can see the seed heads of those, and in September we'll plant those in the garden. And Mark is looking at one of my favorite little spots in the garden. There's a Nepeta Montrose White in the front, and then behind that are two varieties of phlox. I know the white one is called David, and then one of my absolutely favorite daylilies, and it has been blooming like crazy for more than a month. It's called ruffled apricot. And I, of course, buy all my daylilies online, but that's been out here for about maybe 5 or 6 years. And then in the front we have the lamb's ear. So it's so pretty, and then we tucked in our little frog man and wife under an umbrella. We've got some penstemons in there, a little decorative item. It's so pretty. I love sitting on the patio and looking at all of that. Oh, and of course there's also the ornamental onion there too. Really pretty, really colorful. And someone mentioned yesterday who visited our garden that we do a good job of layering, and in this case she was right, just in this little section. We have some pink water lilies blooming today, along with the usual yellows.
So you can just see in the distance there, beyond our pond, this year's big project. What we did was we removed some trees that weren't doing so well, some arborvitae that weren't doing so well, and I've built, as you can see in the distance there, another waterfall and stream to create the illusion that that stream is feeding into the main pond. It's not quite finished yet, but I think it's looking quite good, and the birds really love it.
So as we walk down the path, it's looking quite lovely and colorful. We have some phlox in bloom. We're waiting for this phlox to bloom. I'm not sure what color it is. I think it might be more of a pinkish color. We still have some of the white ones in here. Everything is looking so mature. It's incredible when we sit in our breakfast room in the morning and we look out in the summer, and then we think about what it looks like in January. It's such a contrast. It's hard to believe all of this comes up and gets so lush. This is our little rose garden, and the roses are looking quite pretty. We have a small coneflower in here. We have some Shasta daisies, a couple of perennial salvias, and then this very, very large plant is a tree peony that of course finished blooming in May, but the leaves are beautiful. It's taking up a lot of space. And just before we go under the arbor, one more time, we have this absolutely beautiful summer snow clematis, and it's really doing a job right now. And just beneath that is some phlox that we call them volunteers. They place themselves there and they're looking beautiful. They're right behind one of our Ito peonies. We have another rose called Poseidon that blooms a beautiful lilac color, and I have to cut some of those spent blooms as well. And we're lucky this year because frequently at this time of year we will get Japanese beetles, and we don't have any right now, and usually we don't. We've seen them in a lot of other gardens, but we don't have them.
And then we actually added a little bit of lawn when we did rework this area, and as I said, to remove some trees, we ended up with a little bit more grass. I'm going to take a bit more out just to give it a better shape. So this is still a work in progress. You can see still got some leftover boulders there, but I think it's worked out quite well, and you can see I'm integrating it with the garden railroad. You can see it runs over those rocks, and there's a little bridge over the stream, and eventually there'll be a whole village over there. They're just placed there right now. So still some work to do, but I'm quite pleased with the flow that we've achieved with the stream.
I had a lot of fun buying all of these, mostly miniature evergreens. A lot of them will get taller, but as Mark has achieved in the fairy garden, he keeps them low, he clips them down, cuts off some of the lower branches so that they look like trees, and they're all going to be beautiful. I love the texture of them.
The birds absolutely love this stream because it's got a good flow. It's not too aggressive. They can play in the waterfall and in the stream. It's not something we planned, but it's quite a wonderful outcome, seeing how much they enjoy that stream.
And we've already had people ask us if this little stream is connected to our other pond, which is the illusion of being connected. So I think that's really wonderful too.
But you can see it ends there, and there's actually under the ground there's a reservoir of water and a pump. But from a distance it looks like it feeds into the main pond here. You can see I'm standing on the bridge now, that is between the two main ponds, and then it looks as if then that is feeding into this pond. So then if I pan around, we mentioned earlier that our roses have bloomed again, and these are just so spectacular on this arbour.
And if we look down into the pond, you're going to see some babies, baby fish. We're totally unintentional. We may have talked about this in the past, but when the fish spawn, we can see the spawn on the water. It looks like foam. And we stop feeding the fish so that they will eat the foam. But occasionally, some fish make it through. They get fertilized and they hide in the rocks when they're babies so that they don't get eaten by the very larger fish, like Captain Picard, who's coming after these. But he's ignoring them now. And we probably have, I've tried to count them, we may have 15 babies. You can't catch them, they're too fast. So we just have to watch them grow for a little while, and then in a couple of years maybe have our pond builder come and do a pond clean out and take those babies away, or give them away to friends. They're really cute though. Gotta say, they're so cute. And when people see them, they're amused because they are so cute, these little fish. And also they change color. They come out kind of an orange color, but they'll change color over time.
Yeah, we have to decide how many we're going to keep. Otherwise, we will have too many mouths to feed.
It depends on how many we may lose in the winter. We did lose some older fish last year. This year we were lucky we didn't, but last year we lost 5 fish, and they were all of our older koi. A couple of the older ones, Captain Picard and Captain Kirk, are almost 20 years old. So we've had some old ones. We have a shabunkin, which is just a fancy goldfish. Data, who's the same age. But as they get a little bit older, no one really knows how long they live in a domestic pond like this. Maybe 30 years. So this year we had a little bit of trouble with our clematis that grow on these 2 trellises against the garage. And when it looks naked, I don't like the look. So we went out, we bought in a very large pot a Mandeville. And it's beautiful, it's climbing, it looks fabulous. So now we know what to do every year, because the clematis has problems because it doesn't have a lot of root space here and doesn't get much sun. So this is a great choice. We're really pleased this year with the way our little cottage garden looks here across from the fairy garden. It's filled with items that bloom in the spring, like the Ito peonies, but then in the summer, we have phlox, we have the echinacea, we have daylilies, tickseed, gosh, what else is in there? Shasta daisies, we have the Nepeta Montrose white, and it's all blooming right now and looks beautiful.
So thank you for joining us in the garden today. We will see you in the next video.